Hello, and welcome to this week's episode. I hope you're well and enjoying the lighter evenings as we edge ever closer towards summer. Today, I would like to share with you a conversation I've just had with award-winning fitness expert Julie Robinson. Julie has dedicated her career to motivating thousands of people to keep active in later life. She has done this not only by being the fitness expert for a couple of women's magazines, but over the past 12 years, she has run Move It or Lose It, the company she founded to actively help older people get moving. In our conversation, Julie shares the story behind her hugely successful enterprise, how it works, and the scientific evidence behind the importance of maintaining our strength, balance, and flexibility as we age. As Chris Tiley also endorsed on the podcast recently in his book, Never Too Old to Lift. We also touched upon her most recent venture, MenoHealth, which is a support and fitness program designed to empower women going through the menopause. So, without further ado, here's my conversation with Julie. So, welcome to the Retirement Cafe podcast, Julie Robinson.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Now, Julie, I've been really looking forward to chatting to you this afternoon. But for the listeners who don't know you, who are you? Well, we know who you are. You're Julie Robinson. But what do you do, and what's your passion?
I'm the founder of two companies, Move It or Lose It and MenoHealth. And I teach people to teach exercise to people who are either going through menopause, or for Move It or Lose It, it's really older people, which is a really broad spectrum. But it's to try and get people moving who don't like exercise, who don't go to the gym, but would really benefit from keeping active.
Now, I mean, that actually sounds like most of the population, maybe. I mean,
it is.
So the Move It or Lose It. So where do you see the real need then? Who's not moving? Who's not getting involved in exercise?
Well, really, it's as people get older, their activity levels often start to decline. You know, we've always had this kind of culture about, oh, you need to take it steady when you get older, and especially after retirement, when actually the opposite is true. And looking at all the research that's behind this and the evidence base is that actually we need to be moving it more, not less, as we clock up those years. And it's finding something that's going to make you, well, feel happy, something that gives you enjoyment, but is also really beneficial for your whole of the rest of your life. You know, these are the years I think that we can sort of change the way we age for the future.
Now, on the podcast, over the years, we've chatted to some really interesting people who had a similar message. Samir Gray, you may know, I think Tim Bird, you know, lots of people. In fact, you know, only the other week we were chatting to a physiotherapist who's written a book called Never Too Old to Lift. You know, which is fantastic. You know, so there is a kind of growing momentum there, isn't there, of lots of people talking about, as we get older, we got to make sure we keep exercising.
Yes, and it's definitely starting to get that message across. I think it's just trying to find a way that resonates with people who've got long-term health conditions, who think exercise isn't for them. There are still millions of people out there who are frightened to go and exercise, who think it'll do more harm than good. And these huge campaigns like We Are Undefeatable are brilliant because it's starting to change the perception of exercise. And that's really how Move It or Lose It came about. It was, the name came from one of my class members because it doesn't use the word exercise. They said that very word can put them off because they might have negative connotations from perhaps PE lessons when they were at school. And they think exercise means pain. And we've got to just change that perception.
Yeah. So, okay. So Move It or Lose It. Tell me about the classes. Tell me how it runs. Tell me, you know, who comes along. Who are your success stories?
Oh, so many success stories. That's what really drove me to make this a business. I didn't expect to do this at all. I was approaching my 50s and wanted a change from teaching, supply teaching at the time. And I retrained to teach exercise to older people and could not believe the results. So it became very, well, I really changed quite rapidly, left the teaching of children and went into teaching older adults as they're scientifically known. So it could be anyone from 50 upwards. Sometimes people in their 50s and 60s who got health conditions, maybe like multiple sclerosis or arthritis or diabetes, who don't want to go to the gym or your traditional keep fit type of classes. The vast majority of people that come are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, or even hundreds. And we teach a program called FABS, which is unique to us, which is flexibility, aerobics, balance, and strength. So it's the 4 cornerstones of what we should be doing to keep ourselves healthy as we age. So I think it's just making it fun that's the important part. It's all very well known what we should do, but how can we do it so it becomes a really enjoyable part of your daily routine or weekly routine to keep moving?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm quite a keen exerciser, I suppose is the right word. I don't know. Well, I always worry if I say sportsman, to be honest, because I play sport, but I don't think I do any of them very well. But even I, who's kind of done it all his life, sometimes thinks, oh, really? It's another session on the indoor bike, or it's another long run that I need to do, or, I mean, if I'm presented with a hockey match or I'm presented with a squash game, I always go with relish, but another grueling session in the gym, I sometimes, it takes me a little bit of, pull myself together and get out there type of thing. So I can imagine that it is, for someone maybe returning to exercise, or someone who's never really done a lot of exercise, this is quite a challenge. How do you address that?
Absolutely right. I think it's making it feel like it's fun, so it doesn't feel like exercise at all. Right. And so within the classes, we'll do some routines to music, nothing too complicated, so nobody feels silly or embarrassed. That's key. And then we do strength with resistance bands. We do balance, which is just so important. People don't realize their balance is declining till they try and stand on one leg. And we do stretches for flexibility, lovely cool down with music, but we also do some games and activities. That's for cognitive vitality, keeping your brain active, which is obviously really important as well. Looking at skills, coordination and interaction, so that you are actually leaving that class feeling 100 times better than when you walk through the door. And it really addresses those problems that creep up on us without us knowing, such as you're not able to get out of your chair so easily and you're using your hands to push you up, and it just thinks, oh, you can't really notice. And it's that they're the first signs, your strength starting to decline, and from that lots of other things will start to decline. So how to get people moving? I think the motivation is to have fun and make it sociable, but then it's the reward they get that keeps them coming back, because suddenly they're walking the dog or walking up hills. They feel they've got more vitality, more energy to do the things they want to do, whether that's gardening or whatever. And we all know that if you can stay active, you can keep socializing, and that's really key for our health as well.
Yeah. So Julie, are you still running courses yourself, or have you moved to bigger and better things than that now?
No, I definitely still do some classes. I used to teach about 15 a week, and I couldn't keep up with demand. And that's when I started the training program. So we could have hundreds of people like me all across the country teaching these classes in their local community, because that's so important. So I only do 3 a week now, and I absolutely love them. I get away from my laptop, and so I'm not sitting down all day, which is obviously the message that I'm telling everybody else. Don't sit down all day. And if you're running your own businesses, you can spend a lot of time at a desk. So I love the social aspect too. They make me laugh. We have so much fun. And it's an hour of joy in a very busy week. So yeah, I love it. It's
Brilliant.
not a job. It's too
Brilliant.
much fun.
So a class is about an hour, you say?
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a warm up and there's a cool down and then all those kind of those four cornerstones in the middle.
Yeah, and the music, I think, is really motivational as well. I think that that's where you can make it change according to the group. You know, if you've got a group of people who start saying, we love Tom Jones, or can we have a bit of ABBA, or, you know, where's the Doris Day this week? We can actually make it suitable for them. And that gives them that feeling when you're exercising to music. A lot of people just go into that zone, the flow that makes you feel really happy. And the latest research that's come out from Loughborough University is that it can help us release some very, not just the usual happy hormones, that the endorphins that we relate to exercise, but these endocannabinoids, which is like nature's own cannabis. So it's a fantastic way to relieve pain if you're having muscle and joint pain, for example, and to give yourself a legal high. I mean, what could be better?
So where do people find out about a class near them?
We have on our website a class finder, moveitoрлoseit.co.uk, and you pop your postcode in and see who's near you. And we have the phone number of the instructor, so you can get in touch beforehand. I think that's important if you're a little bit fearful. There's so many barriers to people to get exercising, particularly if they live on their own or they've lost their confidence. So if they can give them a ring and say, oh, you know, is it suitable for me? I get lots of calls saying, well, I am 76, dear. Will I be able to come and do it? You know, say, goodness me, you know, we've got a 99-year-old in the class. So it's very much about making it accessible to everyone, because the exercises can be taught seated. So if someone is in a wheelchair, or if their balance isn't good, or if they've had cancer, gone through chemo, and they're very fatigued, they have MS, they can still participate and join in that feeling of being part of that group and get away from feeling that they've got any illness. Similarly, we have people in their 60s who are really quite active, but they love the sociable nature of the class and the fact that it's a real top to toe. You're not just doing yoga, say, stretching, which is wonderful, or not just doing aerobics, which is wonderful. You're doing everything all in one class. It's a top to toe workout.
Brilliant, brilliant. Now I can imagine that lockdowns and COVID's been quite a challenge to these classes. How have you coped with that?
Oh, it's been really difficult. Yes, it all dropped off a cliff for a while. It was very scary. And of course, so many people were relying on these classes. You know, we have around 50,000 people every week coming to the classes all across the country. And suddenly there was nothing. So the instructors did what they could in that first lockdown. They would go and do exercises out in the street if they could, or they were delivering letters with little exercises on. But we were very fortunate that we got some funding from Sport England, their Tackling Inequalities Fund, and we set up an online club. Not just to provide exercise, because you can go on YouTube and find an exercise, but we wanted these to be safe, to be the right kind of exercise for the people that would normally come along to our classes. And so we set up the Move It or Lose It Club online. So people can either do exercise on demand, or they can do live classes. You know, you need that motivation. Oh, it's 2:00. I must be at the class, even if it's on screen. And we have a physio doing a Q&A once a month, a pharmacist doing the same. We have a book club and a cuppa and a chat, cookery, art. So it feels a little bit more like the community that we have in the classes. Never quite going to be the same as actually being in the room, but it really has helped. And in fact, it's been quite remarkable in its results. We've reached a lot more men through the online club. The vast majority of our participants in classes are women. And actually, it's interesting when we've had our evaluations to hear that some men like doing the classes, online because we can't see them and they're not being watched. So embarrassment can actually be quite a big problem for people when they're walking through a door.
Fantastic. Well, that's brilliant, and I think you've tackled the pandemic well and come out of it very strongly.
Yeah.
Well done to you. So tell me about MenoHealth. What's that about?
So MenoHealth is about helping women to navigate through menopause and actually empower them to take control of this stage of their life. And I realised that through Move It or Lose It, the impact that we were having could be replicated with a younger age group, and particularly for women who were coming to Move It or Lose It classes in their 40s and 50s. And it wasn't really quite enough for them. It wasn't energetic enough because it is low to moderate intensity.
Right.
And they were coming because they just couldn't stand going to the Davina McCall type of class where, you know, it's fantastic if you're fit and trim, but if you are gaining weight, losing confidence, and because of menopause, you've got aches and pains and fatigue, it's the last thing you want to do. So I knew that there was a big gap here that was missing. And I had an early menopause because I had to have a hysterectomy at 36. And I wasn't given the right advice and I wasn't given the right support. And that has led to me having osteoporosis, even though I've exercised all my life. I was a PE teacher. So, you know, it's been part of my life. And I felt, how awful is this in this day and age that women are still not getting the right support, information and education to make sure they live their best lives. We live so much longer now, and you know, you could spend 40 years post-menopause. So I looked at what we could do. We tried it out. We looked at the science. We looked at all the research and set up a pilot where it became apparent it wasn't just the exercise. Like Move It or Lose It offers the social, MenoHealth offers this time to talk in a safe environment. So the class then was split into topics where we talk about the symptoms, HRT, weight gain, brain fog, osteoporosis, all the things that happen at this stage, and look at how we could pass on that education in an informal setting. But for everyone to talk as well and be able to share their experience. What a wealth of knowledge there can be in a room when you get together and go, that happened to me. Oh, thank goodness I'm not on my own, because it can be a scary time. But also to look at how we can do the exercise that's going to address the weight gain, all the things that are starting to happen with heart health declining. Bone density, of course, is so important. And we don't know what's happening to our bones unless perhaps we have a fracture and find out. Half of all women over 50 are going to have osteoporosis. So yeah, it's really important that we get that message across. And it's back to making exercise fun, but the music's very different, the intensity is very different, and everybody again can work at their pace.
Fantastic.
That had to stop during the pandemic again. So we went online like the world did. And actually, this has been a massive silver lining because we're now working with so many big companies doing a 10-week program where they are having half-hour sessions, perhaps in a lunchtime, very easy to access while you're at work, to include the topic, the discussion, the support, and a little bit of exercise you can do at home or at your desk, to try and get them moving more and making it part of their habitual daily routine. And we've been working with, you know, the Department for Education and HSBC and Taylor Wimpey and, oh, goodness me, so many big companies and some very small companies as well. And the tide is really turning. We were on BBC Breakfast, Wake Up to the Menopause. And since that, things have started to improve. And we are talking with the celebrities talking about their menopause experience.
Brilliant.
It opened the door to help others speak about it as well.
Fantastic. So once again then, Julie, where do people find out about MenoHealth?
So menohealth.co.uk is the website. Come along and get in touch with us. We're looking not just to help people with, the education and support, but to see if we can gather more Meno trainers, because we need more ambassadors out there, more champions, like we do with Move It or Lose It. It's a perfect job for people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, post-retirement often, to give them something that they can do that is very rewarding, but you're your own boss, and suddenly you're able to just be in control of how much you work, when you work, and do something that you feel is giving back. But it's also fantastic for your own health and well-being. So, it would be fantastic if anyone wants to join us, get in touch.
Absolutely. And so the instructors that you're looking for, are they the Move It or Lose It and the MenoHealth, are they different, or can they be the same? Or, what's the, what kind of skills do you need already?
People skills are the most important thing. That's what we can't teach. So for both, it's about having empathy and being able to put yourself into that person's shoes, so that we really want them to come in with a caring attitude. After that, we can teach you all the skills and the exercises and the information that you need to know. So you have to have a certain element of confidence to be able to talk to a group. But personality-wise, we've got some people who are really quite quiet, and others that are very extrovert and outgoing. It isn't that. It's just about your ability to communicate, really. For MenoHealth, it does tend to be more for women, women talking to women. Some of those subjects are very intimate. We welcome men to come to the sessions, because menopause affects everyone. Everyone knows a woman, and that will affect them and their life too. But for Move It or Lose It, we've actually trained someone to be an instructor who's age 78, who wanted to deliver classes in their retirement complex. We've trained students doing PhDs who want to be able to go and do this and get grassroots experience. So it's a very wide scope. And men, absolutely, we'd love more men to come and teach Move It or Lose It. We'd love more men to come through the door. They're usually dragged along by their wives. So yeah, if you can help with that, Justine, get some more men to come and move it with us.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it would be a very rewarding maybe second career.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
for many people.
Yeah. I think it's that time of life where, after retirement, or if you're coming up to retirement, you don't really want to retire, but you've got to leave your job. I take the phone calls from everybody that inquires. I love to talk to people to see why they might want to do this. And everybody's saying the same thing, maybe in a different way, that they're a little bit worried about becoming isolated after retirement, losing those connections, because not everybody has a great circle of family or friends. And perhaps a lot of what they did was involved in their job. So to lose that loses a big part of themselves. And we know that people can become less active, or it can affect their cognitive decline or depression. So, to give you something that you're doing that's great for you, but absolutely amazing for groups of other people in your local area, does tick quite a lot of boxes.
Brilliant. Well, we'll put the links in the show notes so that everyone can find out how to get in contact with you. Thank you so much. I mean, it's a really inspiring story. I'm glad you've done so well with through the pandemic and encouraged so many more people to take exercise. And I wish you all the success. I mean, it's a great cause. So well done to you, and thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Oh, thank you. Thanks very much for letting me share my story and talk about it.
Thanks once again to Julie Robinson for chatting to me about Move It or Lose It and MenoHealth. As always, to find out more, head over to the show notes page on our website at theretirementcafe.co.uk, or your preferred podcast player, where you will find the links that we mentioned in the show. Remember that if you prefer to watch my conversations, you can find them on my YouTube channel, which is Justin King MFP, along with a whole series of other videos to help you plan for and live a successful retirement. Or if you'd like a second opinion on your retirement plan, drop me an email at hello@theretirementcafe.co.uk. I really would love to hear from you. As always, if you found this podcast helpful, please share it with a friend, or maybe even write a review on Apple Podcasts to help more people like you find us. So until next time, I'm Justin King, helping you feel more informed in your retirement.